Hello and welcome everybody to Footy Talk. I'm James Graham. Hello to you, Connor Watson.
Hello, mate. How are ya?
I'm very well, thank you. Good to have you in.
Yeah.
GI, how are you?
Yeah, a little bit tired. Been on the road and baby never had a really good sleep last night. I had to come in early this morning for a meeting, but, wouldn't change it. It's all good. I'll get home and have a rest. In-laws will take baby for a little bit.
So the dad will be having a little bit of nap time as well?
Yes, Dad will be having, I don't know, I'll say 2 hours, but I reckon I'll have an hour sleep and then go pick baby up.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 hours. Are you crossing over from the nap into the full-on sleep mode
Yeah, and
there?
then I'm just, then I'm pushing it and I feel guilty.
Keep going for the next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Feel guilty and then just keep, so won't take it too long. 40-minute, half hour. I'll push it out to an hour.
Is it different now, like, because you're not playing and with your sleep compared to, like, if I don't sleep properly and I've got to go and train and play and stuff, I just wig out completely. And I reckon all the boys would be the same. So I know, like, when guys have kids and stuff, they'll just go and sleep in the other room and, like, let the missus look after it. Like, now that you're finished, is it sweet just not to, or you still get rattled by it?
Oh, you still get rattled. You still get rattled by it because it's broken sleep. She's only 3 months now. So it's gone from 2 hours pushing out to 3 hours, and we're cheering if she gets to 3 hours. But last night she had a little bit of wind, bellyache, so squirming all night, up and
It's like
down.
me every night.
It's a thankless task.
lay off the chili, Connor. But yeah, look, any parent out there that's you just wouldn't change it. It's one of the best things you'll ever have.
It is, but sleep deprivation is a form of torture. Speaking of torture, the CBA negotiations, not a pay dispute, as some are making it out to be. It's not a pay dispute. It's a CBA dispute over lots of rights and regulations and information and power and control. Connor Watson, I'll come to you first. As an active player, where are we at? What are the sticking points?
Yeah, so it's quite a big issue, this. It's been an interesting week as far as it's been quite funny to like take a step back and look at some of the agendas that are being pushed out there, like you said, around the pay stuff. They keep bringing up the pay stuff, but it's not like the money is all agreed on. And I feel like there's a bit of pressure on me right now to really get all this stuff across. But yeah, it's about different rights and issues, and like one in particular, which Clint Newton spoke about, is like the agreement rights on changes to the game. So, for example, they set a cap of they wanted to set a cap of up to 2 games that they could just add in the calendar without actually consulting the RLPA. And so you boys know how hard it is to get through 24 games, and then for them just to be able to chuck another 2 on without actually consulting the players, that's quite a big deal.
Have they already spoken about putting the 2 extra games on?
No, well,
2 extra rounds.
Well, no, they just set a cap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
they
like,
could potentially add up to 2 games without the consultation of the players, where if they were to do 3 extra games, then they'd have to consult
then they'd have
the
to come to us.
Oh, okay.
But adding 2 games on is it's just under 10%. So that's like you working for 40 hours a week, and then your boss comes up to you and says, "Oh, you're doing 43 hours now."
Yeah.
Doesn't ask you to do 43 hours. You don't get overtime for this. It's just that's what you're doing now. And then and they don't think that that's a issue that changes the material of the game. And then you start to add more games on, and does the quality of the competition then drop? Because we're seeing high injury rates already at the moment, the way it is.
It's having 2 extra games, if it was to potentially go ahead, most of the listeners out there listening to this here think it's it's just 2 extra 80 minutes, but it's far from it. It's not that. It's the training, it's the recovery, it's if you get injured in one of those prior to that, those extra 2, well then you're sitting out. Or depends how bad the injury is. But it's a lot of work, and it's I'm not across the CBA. Like I said, I've been on the road, but it seems like there's a lot that's going on behind the scenes that's not out in the media yet.
So part of me is on some issues with the RLPA. Part of me on some other issues are with the NRL.
What ones are they, Jimmy?
Well, with the NRL, possibly the control of funds and not giving complete control to the RLPA. Some of the use of data.
You're happy with the use of data?
I'm a bit split on it.
That's
one of the issues that I'm split with. That I don't know why the international game has come into consideration. I thought that was up to the International Rugby League to sort that out. I didn't know that was an NRL issue.
Well, it's not, but they're trying to make this agenda that it is, and like that. How good of a deal is that for the international game? But like when the reason why the Australian players and State of Origin is paid out of this agreed fund of money is because, one, the ARL is the NRL, so it's the same body.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, the Origin is part of the rights. That's one of they're three of the games that are in the money that comes from the broadcast.
Yeah, the broadcast deal, part of the rights with Channel 9 is 3 State of Origin games.
Yes, and also a Trans-Tasman test. But the revenue for the New Zealand players goes straight to the New Zealand Rugby League, and then they pay the players accordingly.
Whatever they see fit.
Yes. And then what the NRL is saying, okay, so we've agreed on this money, but we want you guys to pay for everyone to have the same match fees out of that money that's there, not the revenue that's going to be made from these games that they're going to play.
It should be a separate entity.
It should be a separate entity.
It's completely separate.
And that's their big thing at the moment is like, we've offered this and you guys turn that down. But when you actually look at it, it should be coming from the revenue that game makes. And like people are happy to split payments. Everyone wants like to be equal and get equal payments, but it just shouldn't come from the pot of money that's already agreed on. Like it should come from the revenue of those games.
I'm a bit, maybe the NRL should have more influence for the greater good of the international game, and whether or not they're just backing themselves to do that. But I've not heard that come from them. It's just been, we'll give the players equal play.
Yeah.
Which I'd rather them come out and say we're gonna reinvent and have this revolution of international rugby league. You got to back us to do that. You got to trust us to do that. But I haven't heard that. I'd love for Volandis and Abdo to have more of a focus on international rugby league.
Mm.
And if that means paying the players equally, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I want to personally see international rugby league back on the map. Tonga are playing England at the end of the year in a series, but there's no calendar for Australia, no calendar for New Zealand, no calendar for Samoa. But one of the lines that's running hot at the moment is that it's the fans that are suffering, but also Ricky Stewart had this to say about the majority of the players, which I don't know. It'd be interesting to get your guys' opinion on whether you agree with him.
I feel sorry for the players because I believe that if you spoke to 95% of the players, they wouldn't even know why they're not allowed to talk to the media. I think they're being used, and it's wrong because there's young boys there that got no idea why it's there, and I just think they're being used in this regard. So, yes, I think it is wrong, but our administration will get to the core of it and hopefully fix it.
He thinks they're being used by not speaking to the media. Do you agree, Connor?
No, I don't agree. No, I don't. I think that every player, and this is what I spoke to you guys about like pre-show. I had a conversation with Tom Simons, who is working for the RLPA, and we spoke for like 40 minutes this morning and probably got through like 8 of the big issues. But there's like 100 of these little changes. Like I can give one, for example, which Tom told me about this morning. And because they can't go and get all players in a room for 8 hours and go, this is all the things that we think are not right. Like there's ownership on the RLPA to look after that. That's why we employ them. That's why we pay these guys to do that. Yeah. And then, okay, we'll get the players across the big issues, which is sweet. But like this one this morning is, so it's quite complicated, but basically...
well, then just shorten uncomplicate.
I'll try and give it simply. But so over the 5 years, if like say there's a profit 4 out of the 5 years, but 1 year, or not a profit, but like a revenue. There's revenue, but in 1 year there's a loss. Even though over the term of the 5 years the game has made money, for that loss, the to make up for the loss, the players have to put money in to cover it, like we did in COVID. So you know how the game was running at a loss in COVID. So we took money out of our injury hardship fund and gave it to help cover it, and then eventually got to the point where it was so bad it came out of our salaries. Like that's something that they want in there, even though over the 5 years it could be in the green, but as long as there's 1 year in the red, we've got to cover that.
So it wouldn't be covered from the profits generated from the previous years?
Nah.
Doesn't sound like
it. Like it's just like, you know what I mean? It's so complicated, and it took me a while to get my head around it, and I don't even understand like why it's a thing. But this is the kind of stuff that they're dealing with. So trying to explain that to 500 players, it just really wouldn't work. So obviously the players aren't going to know every single thing, but we're all across the big issues, like, the agreement rights, like I spoke to you about. They want to cut back on financial reporting, but do you remember what happened last year? With the COVID payments?
No.
When the RLPA audited the NRL, they found $28 million more that was owed to players.
That was owed too.
That the NRL didn't declare or didn't know of.
Like all players that's in the top squad.
Yeah.
28 million.
28 million. So they told us, I can't remember what the exact amount was, but okay, we were this much above forecast, so you guys are going to get this. So then the RLPA audited them and found $28 million more in there. And like, because it's frustrating because, it's getting painted like, we don't know like what we're talking about, or, we don't trust the NRL. We're not in, but how can we trust them to do that when time and time again they just find a way to undercut us? Or like when we had the RLPA meeting, they're in there hiding their phones, recording what's going on. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's why the RLPA are fighting so hard to get, because we can't just give them the grey area, because they will take that and undercut us like they have done time and time again. And like, the agreement rights we talk about, remember years ago they just changed the 6 again rule and that changed how the whole game was played. Yeah. Like, I hate going on this rant, but it's good.
It's good because you're clearly one of the more knowledgeable players on the issue, and you care. You care about it. What might seem trivial for some is actually important, and it's all important for forecast for the future, to think. So I'm confused about data rights. I don't understand. Like, I think we have far too much data, or data as it's said over here, in society. But I know that they're important, because why would people fight over them? Why would we have data mining companies? Why do you have to tick those agreements every time you go onto a website or get a new phone? So players' data, that's important, and these issues are important. But the narrative at the moment is it's the fans that are being affected. So, Connor, Greg, I'm going to ask you too: are the fans being unfairly treated with this action, and is this the right way to go about it?
Do you want to go first?
You go. I want to get your thoughts first. Current player.
I would say that, there's some fans who would be upset by this and would care. But then I've spoken to a lot of people, and they're not really too fussed that the players aren't doing media. We're still playing the games. And we had to make a stand. We had to stand for something, and we didn't want to boycott the whole NRL and stop all the games. But, if it comes to that, like, the players would do that. But we had to make a stand at some point and stand up for something, and we found like that this was a sort of a happy medium where, we're still playing the game.
What were some of the more extreme ideas?
Well, like the biggest one was
not play.
Yeah, not play. Like but see, I wasn't in these meetings. Like I'm not a RLPA.
See, I
play like a
delegate.
Yeah, delegate.
See,
so I'm not in these meetings.
I
but
agree.
I do.
I don't think it hurts the average fan that much. I think what this affects fundamentally the broadcaster or the broadcasters.
Yep.
here, at Triple M included. And obviously, most people that comment on these issues work for broadcasters, so they know that they're being affected by it. Would there have been could there have been a better way to actually hit the intended target, which is the NRL? Like, that's the bit of my gripe, is like, it's not that the fan. I think most fans support unions. We're a working class game fundamentally, and yes, money's become involved, and a lot of some players will be multimillionaires. Most won't, but there's a strong connection to the community and to the fans for the top NRL stars. Strong connection to the community, and I think a lot of fans can relate to players, and players can relate to fans. We're not that far removed.
Yeah.
That said,
we were all fans.
Yeah. So we're not that. The players aren't that far removed. I think that argument, I don't agree with. It affects the broadcasters, but the NRL are just sitting. I guess indirectly it affects the NRL because they've got the bosses of Fox, 9, Triple M calling them up, going, "What do you mean? What's going on?" That's that's the indirect cause. But I just wonder if the RLPA could have come up with a better means of attack to hit the target directly, which would be the NRL.
Instead of like the broader of the game, like we're saying, like the fans. But I agree with you guys. Some fans it would, like most things that happen. Other fans will probably say it doesn't really bother them because they are fans, like proper fans, and they understand it. They've probably been fans for a long time, nearly all their life. Those ones that are probably against it wouldn't have the knowledge around it, if that makes sense. So they wouldn't understand it, the nitty gritty of it all. Where if you just RLPA, Clinton Newton's coming out and sort of putting it on the surface, where we're sitting here today and you're talking about the underlining effect of it. So, I didn't know what was going on in the CBA negotiations or why players are taking a stance. But after listening to this and understanding more, I got a better feeling for it. But I'm with you, like, again, like, why now? And why?
Because
against the media?
Because it was like a take it or leave it offer from the NRL, and they weren't willing to negotiate anymore. And so
they said this is it.
This is it. They said this is it. So then that's why the RLPA are like, well, we need to take action because these guys won't negotiate anymore.
Well, that answered my question.
Yeah.
Man.
Sorry. So yeah, there's like no media, but there's also podcasts like this, like yours. A lot of players like have their own things going on. They're also doing like team media, so like team media commitments.
Yeah.
And back to my point before about the players covering the loss. So that's on because the way we negotiated with the NRL was like the NRL wanted to secure the game's future. So basically worked out in the deal that the 300 so up to 300 million the NRL would keep, so that way they could go and whether it's get investment properties, whatever it is, to secure the game's future. And then after that is where the players get a share in the revenue. But even if we got up to like 250 million over the 5 years, but there was 1 year where there was a loss of 20 million, that's where the players are expected to cover it. So that was that thing that I was talking about before, just to make it a bit clearer.
Is it dangerous to bite off the hand that feeds in terms of attacking the broadcasters? Like, are the players in danger of a reaction from the broadcasters or the NRL? Sorry, well, like in terms of fining, are you in breach of contract?
Yeah, I can't answer that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I also, sorry, James, the thing about like so because this negotiation hasn't come to like agreement yet.
Mm.
So you know how they do the rollover of the CBA?
Yeah.
So this is the thing about like the pre-COVID. So because when we rolled this one over, we were like in COVID, they wanted to roll over the COVID payments and like things for like, you know, retirement funds and injury hardship fund and
What it dropped to.
so it dropped to the COVID.
It dropped to with COVID. It was almost reinvented.
Yeah.
A partnership was entered to go, we're going to have to change the CBA in this final year because of this extreme event, which was COVID.
Yeah.
So they moved the goalpost south in terms of all markers for, you know, well, different markers and different issues and different pots of money, et cetera, all went down.
Yeah.
So they wanted to roll that over, not the pre-COVID levels, which the game financially, in terms of revenue, had returned to.
Yes. Well, more. The game's made more money now than it ever has. And they want to continue to. So if this year, if we don't get the agreement done, then what they're saying is that all the, you know, those little bonuses that, you know, you get in your retirement fund will be at the COVID levels. But like, for example, we wanted to get the train and trial rate up to $1,200 a week, and that the COVID was $1,000 a week. But there's guys in my team, and people don't know this, but who train every day with us. But on days off, they can't afford to live in Sydney, so they're going and working. There's a couple. I'm not going to mention their names, but they go on the work site.
Yeah.
To get money to be able to like afford to live.
There was a few boys ourselves that did the same thing. You know, I think the train and trial was $800 then. Yeah, $800 for that week, and then it pushed up to $1,000 by the time I retired. But like you said, they can't afford to live. Like, how are they supposed to do it? So they go out and they're either working construction, working anything that they can make that extra money for them.
Yeah, that's the reality of it, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
because they say, oh, but your minimum wage is going up, but there's not just 30 guys in the squad. Yeah. Like sometimes there's up to 40.
Sometimes,
yeah. Something like, you know. So
turn up training and there's an extra 20 people. It's like, where'd you all come from?
Yeah, exactly. So it's
we're down here for training trial. I was like,
my worry is that the fight. I get taking action. I just worry that taking action which directly affects the broadcaster, which pays so much of the bills, and then therefore indirectly affects the NRL. It should have been more of a target at the NRL.
How would have you targeted them?
That's a good question. Perhaps a covering of the badge, not speak to NRL.com. Like cover all NRL logo on your jersey.
It's not a bad shout.
Cover all NRL logo on your jersey, not speak to NRL.com. Give me some more time to think.
I think all of these things were brought up.
Yeah.
But because of where it was at, take it or leave it, they thought we needed to make it more of an extreme statement. So
because
they've done that.
We certainly don't want to get the broadcasters offside.
no.
I don't think the fans will be offside with this, but we don't want to mistreat them. And I guess, look, you know, for when I hear the words like spoken about like that, this mistreats the fans. Look, I can only speak for myself as a fan, but rugby league's pretty central to my life, and I know it's a soap opera, and this is all part of it. This is part of the soap opera.
Does it make it better for the fans?
Arguably.
Get back talking about that.
You know, everyone goes, can we just focus on the footy? Like, are you BS?
When do we ever just focus on
the footy? The soap opera's way better than the footy. Some of the football that you see, you're like, you know, it's tough watching. Mate, the soap opera's way better. Like,
but then you look at all the reports of papers that come out during the week. It's like, oh well, this play transfer. There's a lot going on here behind closed doors. Oh, what's going to happen?
Well, like even for the broadcasters, like this is gold. They should be mining this gold. They should be getting everybody on arguing. Like,
Yeah,
and
there
forth,
should be
like,
some proper debates, I
like,
reckon.
who cares if a player comes off at half time? How's that first off? Yeah, good. Wow, brilliant.
Well, you know what we didn't do.
Credit to the boys.
Yeah. You've took me on the
I love
inside
that.
there.
All about the boys. You know, as a credit to the boys. I love the boys.
Like, no fans sitting at home going, I feel like I play for them. Like, I feel like I'm in the dressing room. But this is what I like. I genuinely think, and I said this last night, you know, I don't know how much you guys are into politics, but when they have like political debates and they have like two party members, or like the lead candidate for like Labour and Liberal.
Liberal, yeah.
You know, so they'll have those two on and they'll go to them on issues. You said there's 100 issues, Connor. I reckon Abdo versus Newton. I'll mediate it. 100 issues. Bang, you've got, like, put them on the clock. You can't tell me there's not a TV show or a podcast or a radio show in that. Mate, I'd be all over that. The theatre, it's just all part of it. And maybe that's actually secretly they know this, and it actually helps the broadcasters when they look at like all the clicks that they're going to get, because it's a bit of a the Origin hangover. You know, it's, you know, we're not going to a decider. That would have been great. That would have built more interest in Origin. There's a bit of Origin will finish, and then we're going to go in a bit of a lull before we get to finals where it's all going to ramp up. Maybe this is the little bit of a soap opera that we need to keep the game excited.
Just selling around Origin.
Can I just say a couple more things?
Yes. Yes, you may. Permission granted.
Just to like basically wrap it all up, I think that, you know how you spoke before about the NRL having like control over where we spend our money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like all of this stuff is really about control. Like we've spoken about, it's not money, like that's already agreed upon. It's like how we spend our money, how we allocate our funds, you know, them having control over the game and not consulting the players on it. And, you know, one thing that I personally think that with the spending of the funds is, because if we can't allocate like more money to the RLPAs, the players, then the game has more control over us. So like this whole thing is about control, you know, we're partners in the game. We just want to be able to, you know, speak about the issues that affect us and have decisions on that and decide where we spend our money, because that's not the NRL's money. Like that's where our money goes, and we have a board, people that we've put on the board, you know, people that we've hired to make these decisions for us, and we trust them. So, yeah, hopefully that the NRL can, you know, come to the table, and we're trying to get a mediator on board, and let's get this show back on the road.